There's nothing. Not one thing in this world I love doing more than this. I didn't even. Oh my gosh! I guess I got to get up for a sec. I love this. I love this, y'all. I love this. Here we are back again here on YouTube to talk about a little bit of nothing, but everything at the same time. Shouts out Condors and my vintage Condor shirt. You know, got to do it right. I got to figure out a way to get the chat box going, but we'll figure that out. We'll cross that bridge once we get there. Listen, y'all already know how it is with me. Y'all already know. I want to go ahead. I want to post the link on a bunch of different platforms at the moment, because how else is anybody else going to be there? I mean, listen, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did the tree fall? Honestly, I be going through that all the time, bro. I had a hell of a day, y'all. Like, honestly, but I feel like I had a hell of a day, but it's not a day I would, like, change for anything, if that makes any sense. Like, anytime I realize if I have a hard day, you know what that means? That means that if I had a hard day, that means I learned something. That means there's a lesson in this whole operation. But if there isn't, listen, if there isn't any lesson in the day, did you learn anything? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pull this up. I got to get the link. I'm not sure if you guys know this. Did you know if you could copy something on your iMac, you can later paste it. You can paste it on your phone. I think that's single-handedly one of the most powerful. That's one of the most powerful tools outside of like AirDrop. This is amazing. I love how easy it was to start the show, knowing that we're now like on all platforms. It's like we're not on all platforms quite yet. However, we are going to get there. We are going to get there. Let me go ahead and copy this URL. I'm going to copy the URL from YouTube. Make sure it's in my phone. I'm going to copy one more time with my phone open so my phone knows. Sometimes it doesn't know. It does not know. Look, you guys, the best part about no one being here, it gives me a chance to kind of go through work out all my kinks while nobody's here. It gives me a chance to work on everything in the dark, which is really ironic. I was watching, you already know my favorite podcast, Joe Budden podcast, right? And he was talking about how he had more hardships because when he was coming into broadcasting, people already knew his name. And then the other guys on the couch, Ish and Ice, and even he had somebody else there. I can't remember who the guest was. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Academics. And they were saying that even with Joe Budden's not Cascade, but even with his whole persona before rap, he already had a guaranteed amount of listeners that were willing to come to his show or come watch his show. Now, if they liked it, that's another conversation. But just off the name alone, that gets you further than somebody without one. And his argument was that if you don't have a name, you kind of have a blank canvas. And with that blank canvas, you can kind of go anywhere you want to go. You know? So, I don't know. And it was really weird because on one side of the coin, I agreed. On one side, I agree where Joe's coming from. If nobody knows who you are, essentially what he's saying is you can make all your mistakes in the dark. But at the same time, everybody makes their mistakes in the dark at some point. I don't understand. He was saying that it was harder for him as a rapper, but I was like, bro, if you already can sell out a show and if you already have a locked-in audience, why are you saying that you can't, that you have an issue? Let me turn the chat on. Sorry about that, y'all. How do I do that here? I know it's somewhere on here. I don't really know how to turn the chat on. I don't even know how to lie to y'all. Update all, whatever. Oh, shoot. I didn't know you can update all of them right here. You guys, look, I am learning so much. What are we calling this episode? This is the Muhammad Cook Show. I realize it still says Daily Confirmation Live. My apologies. Listen, I am learning as I go. And I can't see a thing from all the way back here. That's the thing about this. You can't going live. Let me see. ADHD or lack of accountability. One thing about this, you guys, about going live, is that you don't really know. You don't know. There's no way to practice this. Like Instagram kind of gave you like that soft function where it lets you essentially see what it looks like practice a live show, but you don't really know how to do it. Like now that I have a whole new platform, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to work it. I just hit record on the thing. Luckily, we're recording in 2 places, so we're all good. Can you guys hear me all good? Is everybody good all there? Here's the chat. Boom. There you go. Restream.io chat overlay. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know how to put the overlay. Eventually we're gonna have the chat on the screen, so then that way we can all talk to each other and see what each other is saying, but live like on the screen. But I can't really figure out how to do that quite yet. So we still working on it. We are still working on it. Listen, how's everybody's day today? It's a beautiful Monday. How'd you start your week? Any good conversations? Any valid arguments? Anything? How's everybody's day? 1 to 10. 1 to 10. 10 meaning you're feeling on top of the world, and 1 meaning you're feeling underneath it. How'd everybody's day go? Now, I don't even know if anybody's here, but I'm going to go ahead and just speak for myself. I think I put myself in it was kind of like a 6 of a day. See, it was a 6 of a day emotionally, but like a 10 of a day, what do you call it? A 10 of a day as a, oh shit. Okay, I got a chat. Oh shit, I got a chat. What's up, Hannah? Listen, audio is weird. Okay, cool. I'm happy you. Listen, there we go. Okay, we had audio's fuzzy sounding. What does that mean? That could be a series of problems with this whole operation. Let me see. Here, what I can do. This is what I can do. I can go ahead checking on my phone. I just dropped my phone. One day I will have an entire studio team and we can check all these things, and I'm not going to be by myself trying to figure it out on the fly. Here, let me see. I didn't even get a chance to put this on Instagram yet. Let me see. What I have to do is do a countdown. I got to bring that back. I didn't realize how important the countdown is on a live stream, because without it, I kid you not, it is the hardest thing. Let me see. Can I even watch my own live? Okay, Mohammed Cook Show. There we go. Oh, audio is weird. Okay, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. Y'all. Here we go. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Advanced settings. Let me see. Let me put 100 in. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. If you can't hear me, holla at me. How about now? How's the audio sound now? Is everything all cleared up? How's everything better? I know. How about now? Are we good? There we go. Much better. Look at us, y'all. We are slowly actually creating a community here, y'all. I didn't really, like I said, today's show, I have to admit, I didn't even really have a whole plan in place. I actually, I called the person who actually sponsored this run, or sponsored today's run. They're the one who actually helped me. And we were talking about, it was kind of like, it was a conversation about this generation and their obsession with mental health, which has kind of like been an ongoing conversation I've always had with a lot of different audiences, with a lot of different people, really. But what I've learned was there was one, I don't know, dare I call it a disorder? There was one that really kind of, that gets under my skin, right? I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the thing better known as ADHD. Who's familiar with ADHD? And who's familiar, people casually using the terminology, oh, I have ADHD, with little to no knowledge on what that really means? Do you guys know what ADHD, like, who's familiar? If you're not familiar with this, all good. I'm about to explain it anyways. But I never really knew what it meant because my dad told me I'm not allowed to have it. As crazy as this sounds, my dad said, look, we're not doing any ADHD, C, key, whatever it may be. We ain't doing none of that. Because my dad didn't believe in, like, you know, he was Hotep before it was cool. Way before it was cool. My dad was into that whole wave before Dr. Umar. He loved it so much, he named me Muhammad Malcolm Cook. Do you guys know what that means? That means that, and mind you, he did this before 9/11. So he was essentially saying, I want to make sure that getting on a plane is almost impossible for you. And on top of that, he wants to make sure if I ever put my name in on any application for any job, I have to really explain myself, or my application has to be a perfect fit for whatever the occupation is. Like, that's how long my dad has been Hotep. Like, my dad, he's a character. That's why I was so excited that one time I called him. I was trying to get him on the show, at least this so you guys can hear his voice and see how he interacts. I kid you not. Like, it's been him as a person he's just interesting, right? So anyways, when you're that interesting of a man, there's a lot of things that you just don't believe in, right? You don't believe in modern medicine. You don't believe in politics. You don't believe in nearly anything that's not for the improvement of black people, right? And to a certain extent, I think that's a good way to live. However, I don't think that's the best way to live because, I don't know, you might be limiting yourself on other cultures and kind of situations. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say my dad, by no stretch of imagination, he is not a racist. However, he is the most pro-black you'll ever meet. Now, having that strong belief in I'm trying to post this on Instagram while telling y'all a story, but as you can tell, my multitasking skills are absolutely atrocious. But my dad being that way essentially kind of set me up to kind of have the same views, you know? He took his views on politics, government, and medicine, kind of passed them down to me. He personally felt that everything could be solved with some burners and some hot water. As crazy, I didn't even do the whole Robitussin. I didn't have my first Tylenol until I was like probably in my 4th year of college. He always believed in have some tea, sleep it off, drink some Vernors. He said, you don't know what the white man putting in that. In fact, the whole reason why I don't eat beef was because my dad didn't believe in, after mad cow disease, he said, we're done with red meat. Now, pork is obvious. My name's Mohammed. He's Muslim. We're not doing any red meat. And comes to find out, it's really not all that good for you. So that really wasn't that big of a deal. However, when I was in school, other agendas were being pushed on me. So, and when I went to a school better known as Community Magnet. Shouts out to anybody who went to Community Magnet who is watching this live at the moment. I appreciate you. I love you. Our school was different, to say the least. Let me go ahead. Let me see. In my school, it was different because they try to take everything that was from an Orthodox school and make it backwards, right? Like little things. Who else in their elementary school called their teachers by their first name? Like all my teachers, I kid you not, I remember, I went to Paseo Del Rey. That's where I had Miss Miles, I had Miss Hoskins. But then as soon as I reached 3rd grade, which was 3rd, 4th, 5th, I started calling my teachers by their first name, Margot, Ed, and Linda, which seems absolutely crazy. And I don't know if that made me more comfortable with them or made me more comfortable with adults. But where I am today, I now am actually really comfortable with adults and have no issues with them. But I think it was because I went to a school that was so casual about everything. We didn't have a uniform. And believe it or not, one of our mascots was a rainbow. Now, this was a rainbow back in 2003, 4, and 5, so it had a different meaning. I had a rainbow as damn near a mascot. It was a bunch of multicultural kids holding hands underneath this rainbow. And then I ended up going to a high school, well, middle and high, but that's for another story, whose mascot was a unicorn. It was almost as if my dad just said, let me find the gayest mascots, and then those are the schools my son is going to go to. But, like I said, it seemed unorthodox at the time, but it all worked out. So anyways, back in elementary school, we used to do this thing better known as popcorn reading, right? So popcorn reading was this system where everybody would take turns reading a portion of a book. And now that I'm older and now that I'm a teacher, I realized it was a way as a teacher to kind of put the class on autopilot. Because teachers, that's a big portion of their job. It's just like how much of this class can I make autonomous? I teach the lesson, then put you on autopilot mode, you know? So popcorn reading was essentially that. But the secret to popcorn reading was to try to call on people who you didn't think were paying attention. That was almost like the joke. That was like the little, and that's the thing. If you were smart, you kind of always paid attention to what paragraph you're on. As soon as you heard the voice change, you just move your finger down. That was really the secret to it. But some kids really couldn't do that because at that time, Nintendo DS, not even the DS Lite, the Nintendo DS first came out. So everybody was playing their Game Boy on Messenger underneath the desk. Kids were eating candy, passing notes. Essentially everything that you weren't supposed to be doing in school, that was what was going on during popcorn reading. Now, at the time, I was reading at a high level, so I really didn't find the need to have to pay attention to whatever the story was about. I just learned quickly just to follow on what paragraph we're on. Now, through the eyes of a teacher, it almost looks as if you're not paying attention, correct? I'm twiddling around, looking around, talking to my friends, but I know exactly where we are. In fact, I even know the kid who sat next to me. His name was Cameron Dale. Shouts out Cameron Dale. His sister now is a model somewhere. She she almost looks like she should go shoot on Euphoria. Like she looks like at least an add-on in Euphoria. I wouldn't be surprised if she was on it. But anyways, I spent a lot of my time not paying attention in class because I learned, I was like, yo, if I just kind of follow where my thumb is on popcorn reading, I learned quite quickly, very quickly, that I can kind of follow along with wherever the story is. I'm going to jump into the comment section. He said, what happened to, on Money Mondays? I'm going to get to that. This story kind of all gets there. We're going to get there. So anyways, 2003 through 2005 was the era of like Netscape, the early ages of the internet. Newgrounds.com was a very popular website. This was kind of like a breeding ground for just new ideas in internet space. Like YouTube didn't even exist yet. Like that's how early this is. But what also was going on the internet, you had a lot of doctors pouring a lot of just information on things that were reserved for the private and for private doctors was now online for anybody to read. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean if now all the information that only doctors and professionals knew are now on the internet? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the modern consumer, for another person of society? Let me post this real quick, y'all. I want to make sure I put this link in here because, oh my gosh. Can you believe it? I spent so much time talking, I didn't even get a chance to copy my link on over. Here we go. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I can't see this bringing more people over, but you know, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it fall, did the tree fall? I'm going to make sure I'm going to say live now. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Anyways, it might take a minute for it to finish uploading, but whatever. That's here nor there. What's this? This is Neo. God, every time I open my phone, Neo he stay on the timeline doing something stupid. Anyways, so this information that was once only readily available to doctors is now open to the public, right? And now what ended up happening was you had people diagnosing themselves or diagnosing their peers, but even scarily, you had teachers diagnosing students with things they have zero recollection on. So anyways, my teacher, Margot, bless her heart, she had the audacity to say, I think that your son has ADHD. Now, here's the thing. I never felt that I had ADHD at all. I never felt that I had an issue paying attention. I just realized the things that we're supposed to be paying attention to were just simply boring. I didn't see the purpose in trying to keep up in that conversation because I already knew where the story was going to end. I had to know where the plot was going to thicken, and I knew where the story was going to end. And I also knew the kids who were going to get called on because it kind of just became this friend circle. It became this idea of friends calling on one another. Let me see. Mo, to be fair, you do show a lot of signs. You a fool, Hannah. Maybe I do, but understand, at that time I wasn't. I was just bored. I just felt that the teacher did not really do a good job, at teaching. She just wasn't entertaining, at least not to my liking. So I didn't pay attention. Now that would have been so nice if Margot just left that thought and her view of me in her head. But she had the audacity, and before you ask, yes, she was that ethnicity. She had the audacity to write a letter to my father suggesting that I need Adderall and that I'm diagnosed with ADHD. Remember earlier in the story when I told y'all about my dad, how well he doesn't do well with modern medicine, as he calls it, Caucasian medicine? He wrote that letter to me for me to give to my parents to get signed to come back. My dad came to school the next day and he told that woman, he said, when did you go to medical school? You let me know somewhere along your elementary school teaching, you let me know when you went to medical school. Don't go around this classroom, let alone this campus, thinking you have the right of way to diagnose kids with some form of disease. This is not your place, and you have no say in this operation. I'm not going to give my son drugs. Now, mind you, at the time, that was the era where they were giving a lot of black kids Adderall. They didn't know how to teach black kids. And this was the affirmative action era. Understand, the school was predominantly white. No, excuse me. I got a new fan, y'all, so it's probably blowing dust over here. This was the time when, I kid you not, this was the time when they were diagnosing a lot of black kids with ADHD because they didn't know how to teach the young black male. My school was predominantly white and Korean, just like high school. They were almost like pipeline schools. If you go to this one, you go to that one, and luckily everything worked out. But as I was saying, you got to remember, my dad was not having it at all. Mind you, my dad didn't even like coming to the campus. My school was legit in Bel Air, California. I did not live in Bel Air. Remember, I told you I'm a mid-city baby, but my dad said he ain't going to the local school. He wanted to make sure I got the best type of education, and I love him for that. But in that process, you got to understand, at these schools that don't have a lot of black kids, they go to immediately to trying to give them some drugs. And my teacher was trying to convince my father that that's what I needed. Thank God my dad didn't do it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if I had to take Adderall for real? Now, I've had Adderall before. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, yo, I never had Adderall a day in my life. No, I've had it. But it was for a different purpose. It was more of a recreational thing. You know, it wasn't like a it wasn't like a what do you call it? It really wasn't a situation where I needed it. But my dad was pissed. He came up to school sweating. He said, he walked to that front office, he said, "Where's Margot?" They didn't know what to do. They weren't even used to black fathers even being around, let alone one coming up to the school pissed off at the way that the teacher thinks how she's conducting the classroom. Listen, Hannah, you said right here, she said taking those drugs early for a long period of time can have a negative impact on the body. Oh, for sure. For sure. And I'm so happy, like I said, my dad didn't let me take them. Which takes me on to today, right? Well, today, right? Today's kids, today's students, we have catered and almost fallen victim to mental health. Now, I'm not going to go on a ledge and say mental health isn't real. I'm not saying that at all. But what I can say for certain is that I think we've kind of developed this soft obsession with mental health. We've become obsessed with it. We've become obsessed with trying to diagnose every hardship in our life. And me personally, I'm not going to say anything is fake. I'm not going to sit up here and say that that's the wrong thing to do, but I don't think that's the right thing to do either, if that makes any sense to you. To be completely honest with you, I think that in our obsession with wanting to diagnose everything,